the light of a fading star is what you wear, is what you are. Like the glow that christens the moon, you shone too soon.
Welcome to the Fighting Irish Faithful Show, post-game show. Notre Dame defeats Miami of Ohio. We did win, but I sense that people are not satisfied with a 28-3 victory over a MAC team. Or maybe we should be satisfied because the last time we played a MAC team, it did not go so well. I am Joe at Faithful_Irish. Welcome to the show, episode 12 in season 5. Very happy to be with you all tonight. Happy that the Irish did win. And Riley Leonard actually threw a passing touchdown. So, hooray. Bravo. So it finally happened. Although, if anyone didn't catch our last show, and I to which I did re-listen to it, we kind of ended on a very positive, high-energy note, but it may not give people the satisfaction they want. But within the context in which we left the last show, it was pretty good. So, you know, we'll just go with it there. All right, I think we figured out hopefully what channel is pissing me off right now on the mixer here. So we'll just roll with it there. We'll jump to people. Obviously, it's a post-game show. We want to get everyone's reaction, interaction where we can. We can talk all about the stats that we want. Very high level, though. Notre Dame. So this is interesting. Notre Dame and Miami, Ohio both ran 64 players. Notre Dame, 36 on the ground, 28 in the air. Miami, Ohio, 28 on the ground, 36 in the air. So it's kind of flip-flop there. 56% run play selection for Notre Dame. But the big thing that jumps off the page for me is the total of yard points that Notre Dame had. 428 yard points versus 229. So huge disparity. It felt like Miami, Ohio had the ball forever, at least in the first half they did. That clearly got shut down. Again, Notre Dame limits their opponent, 0 touchdowns, which is good. I'm trying to be positive here, but the things that bother us, okay, Notre Dame, 0 points first quarter, a costly fumble right at the beginning, a huge run later in the game, which turns into like one of those blooper whoop, the football's covered in bacon grease or whatever, which was a Riley Leonard fumble, which sucks. So anyway, there are some warning lights on the dashboard. I would be remiss if I didn't think that was the case. So if anyone wants to jump on, I got Coach Barsegian and Jay. Everybody, by all means, please, request to speak, and we'll let you on. But it was a slow start by the Irish here. My gosh. At what point did we actually get our first, touchdown? Good Lord. But it was a Riley Leonard touchdown, but it was with 3 minutes and 33 seconds left in the second quarter. And then we do another one. We get another one in 56 seconds. So, can I say that Notre Dame's inconsistent? Like we put up 66 points last week against Purdue, a Big Ten team, and we play a MAC team and we play down to their competition. I think that's the way to go. So we'll jump over to Jay here. If you want to speak first, that's cool. If not, we'll jump over to William. I'm sure he's got something to say. I did invite Red Snapper. I sent him a note. I don't know if he's going to be joining us tonight or not. I respect my brother's privacy. Plus, he's 3 hours away and 2,500 miles away. So, oh, hang on 1 second. You there, Jay?
I'm here.
All right. Yeah, that's better. All right. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks. So defense is definitely our strong point.
Amen.
Offense, if we wanted 5 running backs, then sure, Leonard should be our quarterback. But I think we only want 3 or 4, so let's put Angeli in.
Yeah. Are you approaching this from the effectivity of him as a passer, or just in general the flow of the offense?
I think he's a great running quarterback, but he is not doing anything passing wise to cause the opponent's defense to do anything. Right?
Okay.
They're like, hey, he's going to rush the ball, so let's stack the box.
Mm-hmm. You know, what's funny is, and you're not wrong, you know, when you said that, because that was certainly us for, you know, it seems forever with this guy. I've stepped back from my position about expecting Riley Leonard to be something whiz bang as the quarterback. If anyone missed the last show we did, I essentially came to the conclusion is, look, if he's not going to be this, you know, stellar passing quarterback, fine, just embrace that. And we kind of saw a little bit of that tonight. What's funny is Notre Dame ends up with more passing yards than Miami, Ohio, a team that only really passes, right? So 158 for Notre Dame, but 119. But I guess maybe, Jay, what you're trying to say is 158 yards passing isn't going to cut it.
It's not at all. You know, I mean, sure, with Miami of Ohio, sure, but, you know, Louisville next week, probably not.
Yeah. And I don't want to look too far down the rabbit hole here with Louisville, with them coming up to town here soon. You know, it's definitely one of those games that I think the team's going to have to dig down and figure out, you know, quite frankly, just play winning championship caliber football. And I think the Fighting Irish faithful are unsatisfied with tonight because that's not what we saw. Obviously we won. We're happy we won. We can try to paint things rosy, but we want more. We want blood, and we want to execute and dominate, and we didn't see that. We see a lot of problems. Are we too pessimistic, Jay, or are we just being objective?
I think we're being objective here. I think this season, especially with our offensive line, I think that's our downfall right now. If you put Angeli in there, is he going to do any better against defenses? Maybe, you know, because of his passing, but, you know, he's not going to be able to scramble as well as
Correct.
Leonard does.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's tough. It's tough with that offensive line.
Yeah, on one hand, I do think Angeli throws a better ball. I think if I just look at passing in a vacuum, he is the better option. I mean, clearly there were many passes that seemed very straightforward, very easy, that are behind receivers, or just the timing is not right. You know, pick your poison there. It's very frustrating to see that this guy's got a C on his chest and he's not making what appears to be an easy throw. Now, what's funny is then you have the touchdown, which looks, you know, like textbook, you know, poetry there, which I loved. So I'm happy with the passing touchdown later in the game. But I think you said it, is the strength and the upside that is Riley Leonard as the quarterback is the fact that he can freestyle essentially with his legs. And I feel like when he's allowed to do that, you just see the magic. And like I saw, like, this is, I think, stupid that NBC did this. And I don't remember specifically what the graphic was, but they were on the same screen comparing Riley Leonard to Lamar Jackson. I'm like, okay, there's a big difference between those two guys, in my opinion. It was something about like rushing touchdowns or something, you know, and like, okay, that's probably not wrong, but look, how many do we have to go back and look at how many points Lamar Jackson was putting, you know, on the scoreboard? You know, give me a break.
Right. Yeah.
So I thought NBC was a little silly with that. So do you think Notre Dame's in trouble, or do you think that the coaches just need to take the good, keep the good, but really work on the bad, you know, turnovers and offensive flow or whatever?
So I think that Riley took some good steps this week. I think that compared to, especially against NIU, but I mean, I think that he's taken some steps. I think he's getting better. He's trying to pass. I saw him at least three different times, not just tuck and run after his first, check down was not open. I saw him go to 2 to 3 this time.
Hmm.
So I think he's getting better. I don't know that it's going to come quick enough.
Yeah. Yeah. It's it's a conundrum, I mean, we want to be successful. Now, I will say this, something that is positive about the game is the total rushing yards we had. We amassed 270 total rushing yards, which is great. A majority of that is by Riley Leonard. He accounts for 143. I don't think Angeli can do that. Okay. Now, maybe the flip or the con of that is, well, okay, that may be true, but Riley Leonard would have Steve Angeli would have a better than a 60% completion percentage and more than 154 yards through the air. And I think I'd go with you there. But when you start bringing up the offensive line and some of these other things, then maybe it's kind of like, well, let's not pretend we have something we don't. Let's actually embrace what we do have and what we know is successful, which is running the football.
Right. And I mean, you can put Angeli in there and he might complete those passes. But if you're gonna, I saw too many times today where it was, a handoff to a running back and that they stopped him.
Mm-hmm.
They stopped one of the two running backs, with maybe 1 yard gain. I also saw several times though where the running back got 8 yards.
Yeah.
So it's I go back to, I think we have enough runners and enough talent on the running side to where we don't need a quarterback that runs. If you want that if you want that threat of a quarterback that can run, then I would say go ahead and put Minchie in and let's see what he can do.
Interesting. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not the coaches here, and I've kind of stepped off of my coaching from the couch position about saying what they should do with the quarterback. I'm quite frankly, I think I'm just going to hitch my wagon to Riley Leonard because I think me complaining about it, put in Angeli or Minchie or somebody, I don't think I'm just going to get myself worked up in a frenzy. And quite frankly, I don't see our coaches changing their mindset. I think they've made a commitment to Riley Leonard for whatever reason, but I cannot ignore the fact that the guy has a lot of rushing touchdowns. And if I even went further, and we'll probably break this down, going into the Louisville game, next week, is how many points Riley Leonard's actually responsible for on the scoreboard, and that's him rushing, which is most of it, and now this passing touchdown he has today. You take that away, then it's a function of opportunity cost, and maybe this Steve Angeli flourishes a little more on passing. I agree, but I'm not sure. It's now I'm very curious what everybody else thinks, and I've kind of stepped away, and I think I'm just like, look, can he just be a serviceable quarterback that doesn't throw an interception, because he didn't have any tonight. Now I don't like him fumbling the football, so that sucks. But I think that's something we can clean up quite easily, unless he turns into our boy Everett Golson. So.
Yeah, I mean, if you want a game manager and you want him to be the quarterback that can, pass the ball for 3-4 yards when he needs to and rush when he needs to. Yeah, I mean, and Alabama did that for many years, right? Where they had the game manager quarterback and a bunch of talent around him. So I can go with that. I don't think that if the team does that this year, unless he does keep it up with some of those long passes, because you've got to keep the defenses honest. if he doesn't do that, if that doesn't happen, then we're going to lose another game this season for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Jay, any other thoughts? We got a couple other people here. We want to get everybody's opinion. That is kind of the fun of the post game show, is get everyone's instantaneous reaction, give everybody an opportunity to speak where they can. Anything else we're missing, or any final thoughts?
Yeah, nothing for me. I'm looking forward to hearing everybody else's opinions.
Awesome. Well, Jay, I really appreciate you jumping back on. Looking forward to finally actually meeting you in person during the Stanford game at Pello Jace on the X. Thank you so much.
Yep, see you.
All right. I see William there. You're on mute. Come off mute. And we got Fivers here on deck. Mark or Coach Barsegian in the hole.
How you doing tonight, brother?
What's up, man? Welcome back to the show. I think we have to give you a little bit of credit, because you kind of set my brain in motion. You had a comment last week that we need to beat everybody by 30 points. Now, that didn't happen. 25 points was our margin, so we didn't even cover the spread, which is unfortunate. I think that's what Red Snapper said, we needed to cover the spread. So that's a bummer. However, with you talking about beating everybody by 30 points, that led us down a rabbit hole of, well, how could we possibly do that? Well, right now it looks like just running the football. And then we started looking at national champions of yore, Michigan last year, and then we ended up dripping down the spreadsheet, and I say drip on purpose because he had to go far down. But we ended up figuring out that, hey, Alabama in 2011, 2009, and Michigan last year were not the best passing teams. They were actually really good at running the football, and they had really good defense. Well, what happened tonight? We ran the ball pretty well, and our defense was really good.
I think my only problem with what you're saying is just in the context of this game today is that for whatever reason, NIU and Miami has kind of exposed a defensive line where they were able to, where they were open up big seams, and not on just one or two plays, but quite a few, too many plays.
Yeah.
And we're talking about, by your own admission from last week, Miami's not a good, running team. Well, they demonstrated that they could do it, and against a defense that we feel is, not A level, but B level, competitors. And I'm just having a hard time getting my hands around this whole situation, because makes me feel like this team, we're nowhere close to being in a playoff or a championship run.
Sure.
I think what's happened is that, unfortunately, due to Brian Kelly and his lack of, I think he probably checked out well before his last year. He probably was like, you know what, I'm done. He didn't really want to put in the effort to really recruit and develop the players that needed to be here now in their junior, senior years, right? I'm not knocking the junior, seniors that are here now by all means, but there was left a big hole, especially on offensive line, and that shows. And and the kids are doing as best as they can, right? They're doing the best they can, but we're going to need top tier kind of protection if we're going to have a running quarterback, because these characters that are coming up, Louisville, Georgia Tech, USC, they're going to stack the box, and they will shut it down.
That is the concern, right? And so I think, and I'm with you there, that like we're concerned about the depth at O-line. We have, we've had injury after injury, before the season even begins, right? We've talked about that in previous shows, and everybody's talked about that.
Right.
So that is a problem, okay? But at this point, it's like, okay, well then, how do we as a football team grow with that, right? If we either have to change it up and do three step drop type passes, use play action, some of this other stuff. That's one thing I'm actually really surprised we're not doing better at is play action. Maybe we're saving that for Louisville, right? That, to me, that actually seems sensible. That you don't need to show your whole play action, attack against Miami of Ohio, right? You can kind of just play them, straight up and play downfield and run downhill on them, and that's kind of what we did. And we did average more yards. Gosh, what do we have? 7.5 yards per carry. Like that does not suck. And I don't know, like. I hesitate to quote unquote blame Kelly. I mean, you may not be wrong with that, but at the same time, it's like this is year 3, okay? Like it's time to move on. Like I think
You're
the injury.
totally right about that.
I think the injury piece has something more to do with that. I'm more irritated about people having unsportsmanlike conducts, people fumbling.
I think that,
punts.
Wait a minute. That unsportsmanlike, that was ticky tacky. I mean, really. Come on.
The problem I don't mind. Look, I don't mind a little bit of jarring. I don't mind a little bit of jarring. We don't know if he said anything. The problem is he's right by the official, which is stupid, and look, I'm not an official. I'm not a ref. I can see why Coach Freeman was pissed. It's kind of dumb. Like you end up turning what would have been a legit punting situation and turning the ball over and back into Notre Dame's hands, into something else.
Right. I'm sorry. It just was ticky tacky to me. That's all.
I mean, there are clearly worse penalties that have not been called. It's like, so don't get me wrong. I'm just like. To me, it's not. It's about. There's a time and a place to have aggressive play where a penalty happens, and that is not. To me, that is not one of them.
No,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
I'll concede that. Yeah.
If this is so a little bit of self promotion here. We had on our Dos Leprechauns pregame show. Mike Stonebreaker was a guest. Now. And then we had it wasn't Pritchett. Shoot. Forgive me. The other gentleman, legend at Notre Dame is evading
what position?
Me. Linebacker. It's not Pritchett, but anyway, two legends in the Holtz era, right? And we the question or the comment or the topic of the Miami game, of course, came up, right? I mean, why not, right? It's one of the most memorable games of that season. And so anyway, this isn't like before the game where during warm-ups, Notre Dame's doing their thing and Miami just walks right through Notre Dame's warm-ups. And so Notre Dame said, oh, hell no, you're not going to do this to us. So there's some pushing and shoving that begins. And that gets initiated, right? That's a little different of a situation where it's like you have a complete lack of respect for me and my team and my teammates, and so we're gonna defend, our honor or whatever. Versus, hey, we just had a good play, we had a good stop on 3rd down, and then I'm gonna do some trash talking on the opponent's sideline and toss somebody a ball, and it's like, no, you could have just If he probably could have still said what he had said, but then just turned around and tossed it to the official, that wouldn't have done it. The fact that he threw the ball at some random person on the sideline, I don't even know who it was, is probably what did it. And so, look, I'm not the ref. I didn't hear what happened, so it's. I'm kind of surprised we're actually talking this as much as we are, but
we move on. Yeah,
to me, it's annoying. It's like that's something where it's like Coach Freeman really needs to get his guys in check, because it's like you need to realize that the team's success is bigger than your own personal little battle, and I guess that's the point I'm trying to make.
Okay, fair. Maybe do you think then that is probably Marcus not being more disciplinarian? Because this has happened more than once. They've
Yeah,
had this.
I don't know. I mean, again, I'm okay with a little bit of jacking and jawing, and there's a lot we do see and don't see. Like the one time where what was it? Kyle Hamilton. It was at Florida State. He makes a huge interception, like running halfway across the field, and he's out of bounds, and he's on the sideline, and he takes his helmet off and like points up in the sky or whatever. And I was like, and then he gets a flag for that. I was like, oh come on, that's not a flag, like I I, some of this stuff I'm kind of agnostic to, and I don't want to like have it be this like deeper, bigger thing of like, oh, it's the coach, she's lost the locker room and some of this other stuff, because they should not be choir boys and altar boys here. Okay, they're playing football. Okay, I want them to beat the other team into the ground. Okay, but where we're beating the other team into the ground crosses a line where flags are thrown. Look, if it happens every game, then maybe, and if it happens at a critical point in the game, then okay. I guess in this particular situation, we can sweep it under the rug because we did win the game, so by quite a bit. Lynch Mob has saved the day. Has reminded me that it was Frank Stams and Mike Stonebreaker who were on. Right. So thank you, Lynch Mob.
Let me ask you this: how do you feel so far about the season? Enthusiastic, blah, or God, where's the Pepto?
No, I don't. I'm not looking for Pepto, and I'm also not looking for Scotch. I mean, well, okay, that's not true. I mean, we are doing.
I was about to call you out on that one.
We are doing a show, right? But that's not because like, oh, I'm stressed and so I need a drink. No, it's hey, we're having a show. We're talking Irish football with our friends here on X, and we're enjoying the season. And I mean, I'm not going to be pissed about winning by 25 points. Do I want more? Yes. Do I want to cover the spread? Yes. But these are the expectations that the outside world is putting on this team, not necessarily what is actually happening in that locker room. And that's something I don't know what's going on at Notre Dame. I find it interesting that the two games Notre Dame has quote-unquote looked the worst have been at home against MAC teams, and the two games that we've looked the best, quite frankly, are away games against Power 5 teams. That's where I'm more perplexed and scratching my head. Now we have finally a Power 5 team, a good team in Louisville coming back to us next week. The game's on Peacock, by the way. Sorry, everyone, for that beautiful news. But which is funny. And then what's even more weird is if I look farther down the schedule, the Florida State game's a night game now, right?
Yeah,
so like
that's right. 7:30.
That game doesn't look like it should be a night game. That's the one that should be on Peacock in the middle of the day, but whatever. To answer your question, no, I'm happy. I always get excited for Notre Dame football, especially when we're winning, and we clearly won. Last week was very joyous. Today was happy too. It's the first game that was a day game that I could really watch with the whole family. We didn't have anything else going on. And I fixed my washing machine earlier in the day, and that's up and running full steam. So which is a whole other story and a whole other topic, but which is why we didn't do a show on Tuesday. But
well, let me ask you this: do you feel that Riley Leonard is the captain, the leader that he should be to be a leader, have to carry that captain role? Because it doesn't look like he really is a leader to me. It looks like he's just like, I'm here. I'm trying to do my job, but
yeah,
I don't see him rallying the troops, and that's what I expect out of a quarterback. I mean,
sure.
So, what do you feel about that?
Yeah, good question. I would respond with, and I said this in a previous show, and I think I said this after the Northern Illinois loss. There are two types of captains. There's the smack you upside the head, Tim Tebow, scream at you in the locker room and whatever guy. Then you have the guy who is the leading by example. Notre Dame puts up 28 points. 21 of those points are responsible by Riley Leonard. I think as time has gone on, especially since that loss, he is more of a leader by example. And I mean, these are just facts we see on the stat sheet here. So I don't, whether he deserves to be a captain, I don't know, but I can say that a lot of the success of the offense does revolve around him. Now, there's a complete other side of this football team, i.e. the defense, that has played exceptional. And they're very, very, very good. And they like, let me put it another way. The strength of this team was, the strength of Miami, Ohio, was their passing attack. And we limited them to 119 yards passing. That's terrible. Okay. So good for on our defense and our secondary of just shutting that down. I saw a lot of incomplete passes, right? It's like
That's true.
Their completion percentage was terrible. It was 40%. It was worse than Purdue. Okay. Purdue was 45%. Okay. So I would rather than put a lot of focus on Riley Leonard, and I'm not saying it's like we shouldn't look at that, and I'm like the Wizard of Oz over here. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying I'd rather focus on what is working well with this football team, and that is running the football, which, we've thrown some rocks at whether that's going to be sustainable, but the defense is still doing really well. Okay. Even against, Northern Illinois, right? We limit, another opponent to 16 points. We happen to lose the game, but 16 points, and that's our loss, like I'm not going to be pissed about that. So I'm kind of dodging your question a little bit, but at the same time, I can't ignore the fact that he's responsible for 21 points tonight. And like, what do you want me to say to that?
Just because you can score the points. No, wait a minute. This is not about his productivity. This is about being a leader. And I understand that your view is that he's trying to lead by example, and you're quantifying that by saying that he's leading because he's scoring touchdowns.
Sure,
but I understand that.
I mean, he's the quarterback, right? And I feel like he does the best when he's allowed to freestyle and flow and just kind of do his thing. Like I feel like when it's very rigid and make this read, make that read. Like he's not a precise instrument about delivering the ball to some of these guys, right?
Oh no, this guy's accuracy is all over the place, man.
Yeah.
3 weeks ago, when 3 weeks you and I had a conversation on the air, and it was like I was questioning myself: is this an accuracy thing? No, it's definitely an accuracy thing. And they've done I think Denbrock has done everything he can to give him plays to be accurate, and it's demonstrated today that he did have some good accurate throws. I mean, we can't deny that touchdown pass was pretty decent. And there were some drop passes that I'm not going to let the wide receivers just walk away from. They did drop some passes, but there were some plays where he could have hit a receiver or even a tight end out there on the flat, and it just went or at the feet, and it was like. So I don't know. I just like to hear what everybody else feels as far as the season. I mean, I keep reading what's on Twitter, and it's brutal what they're saying about Marcus Freeman and just Marcus Freeman, not just Riley Leonard. They're getting very vicious about Marcus Freeman standing by this kid, and I don't think they have much of a choice. Like you said, they don't have much of a choice now. They're in too deep
I
with
do
this
think
guy.
they always have a choice. I'm trying to look at it of what makes this team successful, what they have. And if when I start taking into account the offensive line and some of these other things, then maybe now the flip side kind of that is, well, how can we see Angeli if he never plays, right? So I'm with people on that. And like if Angeli comes in, I'm not going to be upset, but I'm also like, well, you will be losing a dynamic guy that does have the ability to scramble and be elusive, and pull your favorite Vince Young type of play, because that is
Angeli's not going to do that.
No, he's not.
Just will not.
He's probably a better passer, but that doesn't mean that that's going to put more points on the scoreboard. And
right.
And so then it's like, well, that's the risk you take,
Right. And if Marcus Freeman runs with Angeli and they still lose, he's going to look like even more of an ass by doing that. So that's why when I say he really has no choice, like if he succumbs to the pressure of everyone, in the stands and out here in Notre Dame land, to put Angeli in, right, and like in the first half, and try to ride it out all the way to like 3-4 quarters, and they lose still.
Yeah.
Even though he's like, hey, I did it. Look, I did it for you guys, and they still lose. He's the one who's going to have to answer for that.
Yeah.
Especially if they get against Louisville or any like Navy. If he loses, yeah. I'm just throwing like worst case scenarios. Like, let's just say, okay, well, we're going to put him in and see how he does. He had a good practice, yada, 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 and they lose.
Yeah.
This guy's now got to stand up to the masses and say, well, we thought blah, 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 XYZ. We thought he was ready. Obviously not. So they have to go back to Leonard, and we're right back where we were. So that's why I say they really have no choice. Yeah. Marcus has really no choice. So he's damned if he does and damned if he doesn't.
I mean, there's always going to be the crowd that A, wants more passing, and B, is going to, and this may be like a Venn diagram that coincides. The people that A, want more passing, and B, are just critical of the decisions of the head coach, period. And so when you have a quarterback that is not, whiz banging you like, Joe Burrow-ish kind of guy, I can understand why people may be upset, and that was kind of me earlier in the season. I've kind of departed from that because I'm like, look, I just don't think that's what this team is this year, and I don't think we have the receivers and the O-line to have that bedrock foundation be this, we have this, complete, castle defense of an offensive line that we can just sit back there and fire the trebuchet and hit receivers wide open downfield. Like, I don't think that's the situation. Okay. So, William, all right, we're going to move on. We got a bunch of people. I really appreciate your feedback. Joining us again on the post-game show. Thank you so much.
I love it here, man. See you.
All right, have a good one. Go Irish. Fivers OMG. I see you there, man. Come off mute. Pink button.
Yep. Just a few things I want to go over. I took some notes. Is that I think when everyone in the stadium was chanting for Steve, it kind of woke Riley up a little bit, because that's when he really started throwing the ball. I noticed that, and especially after his first touchdown pass, which is 4 games in the making. In the second half, he actually looked like he was in the pocket. It looked like he looked comfortable throwing the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think he's slowly getting better at it, and I think that 50-yard touchdown run he had it looked way too easy.
Oh yeah, yeah. That was good. He made a good read, made a good cut, and I think it was also a bad defensive read by Miami, Ohio. I think Leonard saw it and said, "Oh, okay, yeah." He probably called an audible or something, changed the play, and said, "Yeah, we're gonna run right down their throat."
Yeah, the thing that still is funny to me is when we botched. I don't know how we botched that field goal, but the Mitch Jeter, the kicker, that was still our longest pass attempt of the season. he threw that. And
was it a pass attempt, or is that just good coaching where it says, hey, if the play is fucked? Because here's the deal. I feel like they've actually planned for that. Like shit happens, whatever. Because here's what happened. So the snap was low. Okay. So if I'm going to point a finger at somebody, it's the snapper. Which I wish my brother was here because then he could critique this because he was a long snapper and back in the day. Anyway, I'm going to go on a limb and say the snap was low. The holder, realizing what was happening with the play, saw that his kicker was about to play quarterback, and so he turns away from the football and looks up to just block somebody, which then the kicker has to take the ball and just heave it and turn a potential disastrous play into a incomplete pass. So whether or not, someone was actually going to get open and that was going to be some, crazy circus play, I don't know. But I also would like to give some benefit of the doubt. And what does it for me is the fact that the holder, I don't know his name, I'm sorry, but the holder ignored what was happening with the ball and went to just make a block and gave Jeter that time he needed to pick up the ball, scoop it, scan what was in front of him, and then just heave one. And he heaved it. He basically heaved it to the sideline because I'm pretty sure it bounced out of bounds. Whether that was hey, when things get fucked, on a play like that, and the coaches are like, hey, this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna run to the sideline. If someone's open, hit them. But if it doesn't look like it's, just heave it out of bounds because you'll be fine. Let's cut our losses there, and that's what you do. Pass it to a cheerleader. That's what Coach always said, right? I don't know. It's what I kind of was chuckling to myself because it was like a 49-yard field goal, and I'm like, oh, we're going for it a 49. Like 2 weeks ago, this was a 60-yarder. It's just. I kind of had to have a laugh about that. I was like, this looks very deja vu here. It's like I've seen this before.
I mean, if things keep, let's go back to his legs real quick. He's has averaging 2 rushing touchdowns per game. If this keeps up, he could very well have the single season rushing touchdown record for quarterback.
Yeah, I do have a little bit of that. My RTDB stat page is not as good as I would like it to be. Where's Wimbush on here? Damn it, he's not. I don't have Wimbush's stats up. Unfortunately, I've gone alphabetically here, and I've stopped at Travis Thomas, so I don't have Wimbush's numbers, but I know off the top of my head. For quarterbacks, Brandon Wimbush was one of the best that Notre Dame has seen over time, which is cool.
It's been a wacky week in college football because Northern Illinois lost, so that was fun.
Well, that doesn't help us.
Yeah, I don't. They lost at home to Buffalo or something. I'm not sure who they lost to, but yeah. And
it was Buffalo.
Does Northern Illinois also have a wine and cheese crowd problem? Is that the? Sorry, that's a joke. It's not a hostile place, You just got the old guard there. They're there to socialize, not to.
Yeah.
It did take Buffalo overtime to beat them 23-20 though. So, but that still doesn't help us.
Yeah, I just saw the highlights. I know they didn't go for a 62-yard field goal to try and beat Buffalo, but I don't know. I saw the what are your thoughts on the Michigan USC game?
That's funny. Because as soon as our game was over, I did flip it over to that because I was curious. I looked at zero score and da 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 da. And it was kind of entertaining that it was a close game. Upon some further analysis, Michigan has zero passing threat. We think we got it bad at Notre Dame. We got nothing compared to the woes over up in Ann Arbor, which is fine because Ann Arbor is a whore. I am. I will say this. I never, ever want to see USC ever win a game.
Yeah.
I don't care if it, quote unquote, makes Notre Dame look better. I never have equated. I understand mathematically and strength of schedule and, the optics and, if USC is undefeated and we beat them in the last game in the Coliseum, like that looks good for Notre Dame. I'm with you guys on that. But I fucking hate that team. I don't like the Trojans. I want them to die a horrible death, and I'm happy they lost. To which I'm this is where the doc has threatened to. It's not really a threat. It's kind of more just haha. But start her own X account just so she can troll me. Now she didn't get video of me singing "Hail to the Victors," but I am kind of humming it. And I'm holding the baby at the time. And she's like, "Are you actually singing Michigan stuff?" I'm like, "Look, I hate USC, right? And like they won, right? What do you want me to do?"
Mm-hmm.
So it is a catchy fight song, like I'm not gonna.
It is.
It's like, Michigan is the assholes of the world still, but it's just like. So my opinion of the game, the team, I was actually rooting for a Comet. Which is funny because I guess 2 days ago an asteroid did come near the planet Earth. Did anyone see that?
I heard about that.
Yeah, it's like the shape of a stadium, and I'm like, is this like a weird metaphor? Like, yeah. Anyway, so no comet hit Ann Arbor, which is probably good because then it means no one died. All right, it's because I don't want people to die, but
except for USC.
I don't want the
them
people
to
to die. I would like their football program to just wither away because I don't like them. So, that's actually not true. I want them to play every game but lose every game. That's what I would like. So, and they lost. So I'm happy with that, right? So I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I would,
don't ask me too much about that game because I just kind of like was a casual college football fan. Like, oh, let's tune into this game because this is the best game that's on right now for me to change over to.
Yeah. I don't know. I also thought it would have been funny if Florida State lost again. But, we can't, and not everything can be, not everyone can be winners, I guess.
Nope, not anymore. There's no more ties, so.
Yeah.
All right, Fivers, any last thoughts? And then we're going to move on. We got a bunch of people here that I'm sure would like to give their opinion.
Yeah, I want to hear him. I just want to say I hope we're ready for Louisville next week because that's going to be our main test.
Ooh, yeah. Maybe that's our problem. Maybe when the temperature drops and the precipitation increases, that's when Notre Dame will rise.
Don't we play green next week, or we wear green next week?
It is the green jersey game.
Well. We'll see what happens.
We'll find out. Right. Whether it quote unquote worked against Cal. I don't know. All right, Fivers. Thanks so much.
Yep. See ya.
All right, Andrew. 45. We've invited you to speak. Come on. You've kind of hopped on, hop off a couple times. Lynch Mob. I see you're there. You're on deck. By all means, hop on. Lynch Mob, welcome back. Says your speaker. Nope, Lynch Mob's on mute.
Yeah, so one of my biggest complaints for today's game is quarterback play. Obviously, as everybody else, I feel. How can we go to the portal when we got these guys coming in freshman year? They're playing with us all the way through, and you see this guy, Riley Leonard, can't complete past 10 yards.
Yeah.
And it's pretty frustrating being a fan.
Except for today.
Except for today. Luckily, we're 4 games in, and he's only, first touchdown passes.
That is correct. No, I was holding the baby, and we were dancing, and we did push-ups, in the family room here. No, I'm with you, Andrew, and thanks for joining us on the show tonight. On the post game show. No, you're 100% right. We should be concerned as fans. Like, why does it take 4 games against a MAC team for you to finally get a passing touchdown? Number one, and number two, what does this say about the program? I think that's kind of what you're getting at with respect to we're just going to go to the portal and grab the next guy rather than develop guys in the program. I think that's where you're headed.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think it's pretty pathetic, and as a program, to say, that, hey, you may be next in line, but we're going to see what's out there first before we put you in. Riley Leonard has had his time. I think Marcus Freeman should have already sat his ass to begin with. Just make a
Okay.
statement. Make a statement. Let's put somebody else. If it's not Angeli, let's put Minchie in. If not, we got CJ Carr that's there.
Yeah.
But you have also, you got Deuce Knight on the cusp of flipping to Auburn, which we all know is coming.
Well,
why can't
we'll
we
see
just
about
bring in the
that.
next player?
We have sources and friends of the show that have suggested otherwise, regardless of whatever Tom Loy is telling us. But you're not wrong. I will say this about the Deuce Knight thing, because I think that is a real thing. It's like, well, am I going to go to Notre Dame and get developed, or am I just going to get passed over from a guy in a transfer portal? Number one. But number two, look, and I don't know what Auburn is doing today because I don't follow them. However, I don't think anything recruits better than winning. Winning teams tend to get the better players in general. It kind of helps with cash and warm weather occasionally. But there's a ton of factors that go into it, and let's not chew the fat here. Notre Dame is not an easy place to go to school. You have to go to class and some of these other things that may not appeal to your average, young man, 17 to, 22 years old. You know what I'm saying? So, and these are not excuses. This is Notre Dame. This is who we are. So
yeah, we shouldn't change for any of those reasons that you just stated. I mean, we're Notre Dame for a reason. We've been where we're at, and we need to get back to where we're at. And it's just one of those things, it's like, why continue doing these things? We know we can't compete with the LSUs out there, the felons of the NCAA type of things. It's like, we are what we are. Let's, you go to Notre Dame for the Alumni Association, for the people that you meet. It's a lifelong journey with the education itself. Those arguments speak for themselves. It's getting old. I don't know. I mean, that's my take.
I mean, but I do think that Notre Dame as a program is still a good football team. We haven't won a bowl game that's worth a crap, quite frankly, in 30 years, right? So that's the big sticking point that I've said from basically day one on this podcast, and that was in 2020 when we started. So I'm still seeking that as a noticeable mark of improvement for the program and the university, the football team as a whole. So don't get me wrong, I'm with you there. Back to the Riley Leonard thing. I mean, if I assume you didn't catch the end of the show on Wednesday night. I almost said Tuesday. On Wednesday night. If you listen to the last 20 minutes of last week's show, you end up like hearing metaphorically the gears in my brain turn, because we start comparing the reality that is Notre Dame and their lack of passing execution as a formidable foe, if I can use such language, because it's not. We don't have this great passing threat, especially from Riley Leonard. So I'm with you. However, if I look in context of history of teams that still have been successful, i.e. won a title, they didn't necessarily have to do that. Is that the exception or the norm? I don't know. It's probably the exception. However, then if we talk about some of these other things like William has brought up, look, that's just not this team, right? We don't have the offensive line or, the scary receivers out there. We just don't, right? Now, maybe it's a function of the quarterback. I'm with you. But I'm also I'm going to stop asking Riley Leonard and the program to do something that maybe they're just not equipped to do. Now, maybe, and I'll throw it back to you, Andrew, here, is maybe the solution that Angeli brings something different from the passing game that makes Notre Dame's passing game more formidable, and you have decent running backs, so just let them run the ball. Is that maybe where you're going with this?
I mean, to be honest with you, once Angeli came into this game tonight, it was just like, I felt it was like a breath of fresh air. Thank God this guy's out of there. It's like you have a new somebody else is different than we already saw Riley Leonard go three quarters, and what came out of that? You had one pass that was past maybe 10 yards. The other passes he can't even hit. It's like even the throw that they call pass interference on, it was still behind the pass.
Yeah.
Like, why can't you just overthrow it? I'd be fine with him overthrowing the pass instead of underthrowing the pass. Like,
correct.
I don't know. I think it's just pathetic play. But you are correct. We have a freshman line that doesn't have that, all that going on for him.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's annoying Denbrock, because I'm sure he would like to do other things, and allow his quarterback to scramble into an area in the backfield that gives him more time, allows plays to develop better, and he's not able to do that quite frankly because of the lack of experience and the abilities of the O-line that's there to protect him. So then what do you have to do? Well, all right, you have to do short stuff. You have to do 3-step drops, which doesn't give your receivers a whole lot of time to develop in their routes, especially against halfway decent passing defense. Now, I'm not saying that Miami, Ohio was this world beater of a passing defense, because they weren't. But, I mean, gosh, where were they on pass defense? I mean, they limited their opponents, who was Cincinnati and Northwestern, to 182 yards on average, passing in the air. I mean, what did we have? 158. So we're actually under the watermark there. Is your point? Maybe that's just a function of Riley Leonard and his inaccuracy.
I'm gonna say 100%. You are correct, man. I'm just not a fan of him at this point. I think it's time to move on. All the hype that he had is not living up to it. It's getting kind of old. Andrew, it's just one of those things, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you jumping on tonight. Is this the first time you've joined us or listened to the show?
No, I was on there last week and I didn't get an opportunity to speak.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Well, here we'll move you up to the front of the line. But have you? Go. I'm going to give you some homework over the weekend after you go to Mass tomorrow, right?
Yes, sir.
Go check out the Riley Leonard show. It's let me flip back in the notebook here. But we did a Riley Leonard exclusive show before the season began, and we talked all about him. We talked all about, should the show is titled "Should Riley Leonard Be QB1?" And it was published in the 13th of August. Okay, it's episode 4 of this season. You'll hear some sweet music from Street Fighter when the episode starts. Anyway, we did a huge deep dive in this guy, and the conclusion was essentially, why did we get him? And that's where we started when we began the season. Now, I've kind of not necessarily changed my stripes on this. I'm just looking at it from a different angle. I'm looking at what's happening now with this team, now a third of the way through the season, which is a little depressing to think about, because we wait for Notre Dame football all year, and then it seems the season is over in a blink of an eye. Riley Leonard gave us 2 rushing touchdowns, so RTDB, and he did give us another passing touchdown, so he's responsible for 21 points tonight. The most important stat I look at is touchdowns, period. And the guy is responsible for 3 of the 4. So I can't, as much as I'm with you that he needs to do better, if I can take a constructive criticism angle, he still had 3/4 of all the points. He's responsible for 3/4 of all the points. So we'll do a deep dive into more of this as we go into the Louisville game, and whether or not that actually is now a vulnerability for Notre Dame, because maybe we're a one-man offense or what have you. I don't know. But it's something that's worth looking at, I think. So, all right, Andrew, any final thoughts? Anything we need to leave with about this game against the Red Hawks?
Nope. Thank you, sir. I'll do my homework and I'll listen to you next week. Appreciate you.
All right, appreciate it. Andrew,
Yes,
thank
ma'am.
you so much for joining us tonight on the
you.
Fighting Irish Faithful show at Andrew45. Andrew C45, excuse me. All right. Does the C stand for caliber? 45 caliber? No, I'm just kidding. That's funny. All right, Coach Barsegian, Lynch Mob, there you are. Maybe the C.
What's up?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Oh, good, doing good.
Thank you for keeping me honest on in the chat here.
I wasn't honest, just informed.
Frank Stan. That's why we're a team. All right.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
No, I was just listening to part. I got on a little bit late, but no, on the Riley Leonard thing, I'm just wondering. Me and another buddy of mine were talking, and he doesn't have the time. Maybe he doesn't have the arm to go with it, but he doesn't have a whole lot of time in the pocket.
Yeah.
It's kind of been my thought. Like he's literally got a couple checkdowns and he's got to do something because if they're sending any kind of pressure, he's in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah. But what's interesting is, and I see that Mike Sloan had some critical language, I'll put it that way, regarding Riley Leonard, how he's not performing, especially with the price tag that he comes with, I guess, is kind of where we're going with this, which he's not wrong, right? You expect with some, crazy NIL money that you're going to, be getting something great out of it. So, okay, fine. I guess, Lynch Mob, do you think that we as a program need to change our stripes, or is this a bigger problem? Because it's like, look, I don't care who your quarterback is, you got to have a good O-line. And if you're just like pulling guys from the practice squad at this point and guys that have very few starts under their belt, what can you do?
Right.
Is Angeli really the answer there? Maybe he is. I don't know. This is a legit question I don't know the answer to.
Right. I don't know. And had we not picked up Riley, I mean, are we sitting 3-1? Are we 2-2? Are we
4-0? I don't know.
4-0 or 0-4?
I don't know if I don't think we'd be 0-4. Purdue was pretty shitty, but
right.
I mean, I think any of our guys could. Our practice squad would have beat the shit out of Purdue. Purdue was so bad. I guess the Notre Dame's making the MAC look good. I don't know.
Yeah. I just don't know that we planned going into the season to have all freshman offensive line.
Nope.
That's the scary thought to me.
So I guess what you're saying is in 2 years when CJ Carr's the starter, we're gonna be riding high.
We hope. CJ Carr and Noah Grubbs.
Okay, here's the deal. I've actually said this for a long time. I actually think year 5 of Freeman with CJ Carr as a starter, it was just the way I see things. Like I'm not like throwing in the towel on this year. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying if we're gonna talk about the roster, look at the line, look at the quarterback, look at some of these things. I've said for probably ever since we got CJ Carr, I was like, I think year 5 is the year, because this year we're still in kind of this transition. Next year, it doesn't matter who the quarterback is. It's going to be someone new. And I would assume it's either Angeli or Minchie or Carr. And then I think year 5, it's really the Carr year where he really shines. And that's the year that we can do it. And that's based off of just the roster attrition, strength of the O-line, strength of the quarterback position internally. That's Joe's opinion that year 5 is the year we should really be. However, this is still magical year 3, and crazy shit can happen. Now, what's funny is I was kind of like in this game. I was going back to 2012. I know people are rolling their eyes when I say this, but like go back to 2012. It was a magical year 3 of Kelly. This team is way better than that year.
I think so.
This team is way better than that year 3 of Kelly year. Okay. And if anyone disagrees, by all means, jump on. But statistically, we are superior to that team, especially on offense, which was the downfall of that season. I mean, like red zone touchdowns were really, really good versus what we were in the other, in the 2012 year. I mean, we're scoring in a touchdown 83% going into this game every time we're in the red zone. So that's cool. But like we're struggling against Purdue, and the BYU was a nail biter. It's just like why, and you're just beating your head against the desk. Now the difference between that 2012 team and this season was undefeated regular season, and we don't have that anymore, right? So that is the Achilles heel of my argument here. I'm just saying, like, look, we were all bitching when Tommy Rees had to come in to save the day against Purdue. And maybe that's quote unquote good coaching by Kelly to bring in the closer to run the 2-minute drill. To which I do think that Angeli would do a better job. So don't get me wrong, I'm kind of with you guys. I'm not necessarily advocating for a 2-quarterback system, but I do think that Angeli can be a good contributor to this team that I don't think Riley Leonard, I don't think Riley Leonard has the, if it's a close game and we have to mount a comeback, God forbid, against Louisville, but that seems potentially likely. I mean, who do you have more confidence in there to run the 2-minute offense and push the ball downfield with their arm? I'm going to tell you guys, I don't, as much as I like Riley Leonard, scoring rushing touchdowns and shit like that. When you're in that situation, you have to pass. And yes. I see Angeli being more successful at helping Notre Dame win that game in that particular situation.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
So, I don't know. What else am I missing, Lynch Mob?
I can't think of much of anything. The defense is lights out. And I wonder back to earlier, I don't remember who it was talking, it may have been William. The defense, like with them, with Miami, Ohio being that much of a passing team, do you think we might have over-practiced to protect the long ball versus the run game and just not focused as much on the run games while we got just beat up the middle pretty much?
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, because we were getting gashed at times. I mean, I look at it more in the overall effectivity. Is it kind of a bend don't break, scenario, which is a shout out, back to that 2012 team under Bob Diaco. But it's true. Look, if their weapon is the deep long pass, then take it away from them. If you can take away a team's best weapon, then shit, you're already leaps and bounds. It's kind of like this is for the operations and business people out there, where you have a Pareto chart, you have a quality issue with whatever you're making. Okay, I used to be in manufacturing, so excuse the analogy here. You've got you make a part, you make a product, whatever it is, and you have defects, all right? And so if you categorize your defects, right, and you have different defects in whatever it is in your process, in your part, whatever, okay, and if you group them together, you should really try to attack the one that's happening the most often, because it's like the 80-20 rule, 80% of your problems are from 20% of what's happening, right? Or something to that effect. So my point is, if Notre Dame's defense today had prepared to take away the deep ball, limit Miami of Ohio to a terrible completion percentage of under 40%, worse than Purdue last week, which is cool, and limit them to a total of 229 total yards. I mean, crap, that's really good. Like the way Notre Dame played today was national championship caliber defense, okay? National champions limit their opponents to 298 yards total, and we put them at 229? Are you serious? I mean, so, and 162 against Purdue. All right, Miami, Ohio wasn't that great, But Texas A&M was 246, of total yards for the defense. So, I mean, there's good stuff happening on the defense, right? And so, we can bitch and moan about the quarterback and the passing game, but I don't see too many complaints about the running game today.
No.
And maybe that's us. It's an even better if, and the maybe it's a function of fantasy sports or all this NIL, or maybe it's Notre Dame's own problem because they're featuring Riley Leonard in their promos and stuff, and fine, okay. But I mean, he's the quarterback. Who else are they going to show?
Right.
I don't know.
And 34 is better than 24 on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you there.
Shout out to you for bringing us up.
Well, I think we'll see how the season evolves. Obviously, I do want to do a deep dive here into Riley Leonard. Relative to the points he's responsible for, maybe do some historical comparison to some famous quarterbacks of yore at Notre Dame, what have you. The Lamar Jackson thing, I'm going to write Lamar Jackson ? I think that's a bunch of bullshit that NBC put up. I was like, really? That's one of the most electric quarterbacks I've seen in years, and you're going to really throw his name up next to Riley Leonard's? Give me a break.
Right.
That was my immediate reaction. So I kind of want to throw some rocks over at NBC. And quite frankly, this is the week to do it coming up because we have to watch the game on Peacock. So, no.
That's right.
All right, Lunchbot, we're going to jump over to Mike Sloan. I'm sure he's got some, he's got an opinion he would love to share with the world.
Right.
All right, Lynch Mob, have a good one. Mike Sloan, welcome
sir.
back to the Fighting Irish Faithful show.
What's going on, my man?
Yo, longtime supporter, happy you are back with us. So I saw in the chat you had some comment about Riley Leonard essentially not being worth his salary, kind of like John Calipari at Kentucky was not worth his salary, so get him the fuck out. Oh, wait. Am I crossing the streams there? Sorry.
He's fair game now.
I mean, he's gone, right? Where is he at? Arkansas?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the Razorbacks do want to get back to college basketball prominence. But anyway, we can leave the hardwood for another day. Let's talk about the hard knocks of Notre Dame's passing game. Tell me about Riley Leonard.
Still trying to figure it out.
Me too.
I don't understand how this guy is a seasoned veteran and he's just not doing anything. He's not doing anything like he was doing at Duke. And you hear everything from, he's not used to the system here. And that, to me, that makes zero sense.
I think that's an excuse if people are saying
apparently, that. Apparently the route runners at Duke ran on their hands and they catch with their feet. And he's not used to what's going on in South Bend. I don't know. I don't understand it. I don't know if the stage is too big for him, if it's a little bit faster. Granted, we're used to having, you might as well say, damn near a NFL O-line, and this year we don't. I get it. I'll give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt for that, having to deal with freshmen, but still yet, I mean, for what he's done, passing-wise, inexcusable. And, hey, if we can win every game with him running, great, but there's no way that these teams are watching us and saying, well, hell, the only thing you have to do is apply a little bit of pressure to him and stop the run. He can't throw the ball, and that's going to end up biting us. And I think it's going to bite us real soon.
I'm with you, and I'm glad you brought that up, because something I've thought about, which I haven't seen a team do yet, and I'm not trying to tell Louisville here. Is anyone here a Louisville spy? I don't know. How many of these people do I know? Sorry, Trey, I don't know who you are, but we're not going to boot you from the space. I'm glad you're listening, but I am concerned that someone like a Louisville or whatever or even a Georgia Tech is going to put a spy on him. And you're just going to have, someone just play the monster back or whatever and just say, your job is to follow Riley Leonard. As soon as he crosses the line of scrimmage, he's yours. Other than that, he cycles left, you cycle left, so on and so forth, right? I remember, this is going way, way back, and totally different sport, but the analogy will work. I remember back in the day, I used to play hockey. I love hockey. People don't know that, although some people may have seen some Dallas Stars gear in the studio. However, I remember when I was in high school playing hockey, and we were in the championship game, and our coach said, all right, look, the other team, they've got this great player, and he is phenomenal, and so we're just going to shut him down. And he knew that our team was better than their team as a whole, to which he actually sacrificed the entire flow of the game, because he said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to have one of our people just, your job is to follow him. And I don't care if the puck is on the other side of the rink. Your job is to just stay with this guy and just be, like, what's the line from Hoosiers, right? Like, stick to him like chewing gum. I want to know what flavor he is. Your job is to stick with him. To come, and we ended up winning the game by multiple goals because they had no answer, right? It came completely out of left field, and they were like, wait, we can't use our guy because he can't get the puck. No one wants to pass to him, and even if they do pass to him, he's being frustrated. It's kind of like the Jordan rule, but like on the extreme level. Going back to the present here, and I think where Mike Sloan's coming from, maybe if an opponent, just puts a spy on him, that Notre Dame's offense is really screwed.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
so, it's a vulnerability now in the operating system.
There's no way that these teams that are ahead of, in our schedule aren't looking at the numbers and saying, how are they putting up points? And this guy doesn't have any, he's not passing for anything. So they watch the games, they watch the tape, they're going to figure it out. And, Riley is either going to have to get pulled, we're going to have to put somebody in that can throw, or he's going to have to get it figured out. But I just have a hard time believing that. I just don't think he's got it in him. I don't know how he did it at Duke, but for him to be doing what he's doing here, it makes zero sense. I mean, none at all. I get it. He's getting pressure and he's got to hurry. He doesn't want to stay in the pocket. He doesn't have a quick release. But how many people are getting open downfield? He's not even seeing them.
Yeah.
Or if he is seeing them, does he think that he doesn't have the arm strength because a lot of his throws are underthrows? Does he?
Yeah.
It just makes no sense at all.
I am disappointed that we as a team are not like when it's like a first down kind of situation, we're not just doing a 3-step drop and hey, just chuck a fade. Let's try to keep the defense honest. You know what I'm saying? I'm a little disappointed that we don't even try that. Or even like some sort of wheel route kind of thing, and maybe that's a little, play action sometimes requires that. But I'm with you, Mike. It's why do we not try to extend the length of the field by throwing it downfield? Now, I'm not saying throw it into safety coverage, but like you can throw it against the sideline and give your receiver an opportunity to be the athlete,
Oh, yeah. And, you don't have to chuck 80-yard passes, 20 times a game.
Yeah.
That's not what we're asking for, but you have to be able to make the passes when the run isn't going to work. And
yeah.
It's not always going to be there for us.
Like
the problem that I have is we all see it. If we all see it, the coaches see it. How are they not? And this goes back to what I was saying about him getting, paid and all that to come in. I honestly think that they don't want to look foolish, and they have too much pride to say, listen, guys, we hyped everybody up. We hyped up the season. We hyped up the year. We're putting him on every advertisement. We're doing everything to show this is our guy. We've invested a lot of money in him. We cannot turn, I'm not going to say turn their back on him, but they have to defend their position on the hype. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
Because it's
I'm
like they
with you
look
there.
bad if they if they set him and tell everybody, hey, we thought he was the answer, he's not starting anymore, blah blah blah. That makes them look bad. That's the only explanation I can give, because
Yeah.
there's no way that they're not seeing what we're seeing.
No, I'm with you there. I can't argue at all with what you have here. I'm looking at the box score tonight, and especially against a team like Miami, Ohio. You think that we'd have a little more diversity and be able to throw the ball at will, right? And that doesn't happen, so that's irritating. I am happy that we do run the ball 56% of the time, so I'm cool with that. That's basically in line exactly what national champions do, so that's cool. Let me ask you this question, Mike. Where the hell is Jordan Faison? Why do we not see him anymore?
No clue. I
He
really
didn't get
don't.
a single pass tonight. He did fumble a ball, so that sucks. Maybe he got benched. Coach was like, get the fuck out. I don't know.
I guess he hasn't learned to run on his hands and catch with his feet yet.
Oh,
So,
okay. Oh, is that what it is? Okay.
yeah, Riley doesn't feel comfortable throwing to him.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, is there an injury thing there? I genuinely don't know the answer to that, but I am I don't want to say disappointed because that doesn't seem fair to face on, but I'm at the same time I'm like, we don't even see him. Like he's not getting a pass, and I don't know.
And lay this out here for you, which I hope this doesn't happen. I hope this isn't the case. But we go into the Louisville game, and we're down 21-0 at halftime, and the run is just it's not working at all. They're shutting every run we try, they're shutting it down. What do? Do they? And we have to go to the air. What are you going to do? What's Freeman going to do? Is he going to say, "Oh, I'm riding with
Be
my guy"?
Stubborn and stay with
Right. And we're the entire season is now it teeters game to game, and I don't know.
That is
I
true.
hate to be the negative guy in the room, but I honestly think that Riley's ordeal in passing is going to bite us big time.
No, I don't think you're being negative at all. I think you're being very realistic. You're looking at look. College football is all about ranking your team relative to everybody else, right? Look, the USC lost today. They lost to a Michigan team that has worse passing woes than we do. Okay, so okay, cool. But at the same time, it doesn't help Notre Dame's case when like we only had 158 yards in the air. That sucks. Okay, like that's terrible. It's not good. Okay, it's 130 yards off from where it probably should be. So that ain't good. The other problem is, just like you said, what happens when times get tough, right? And now you got to go to the air. You're down by 1 million, and you have to do something dramatic, and you have to extend the field downfield. We haven't shown that we can do that all year thus far, especially with Riley Leonard, and I think your call to arms, call to alarms is very very sensible and very realistic to what could befall this football team. Because let's face it, we lost to a MAC team. We are now not in control of our destiny. We have to look good against other people. I mean, we won by 25 points, but we didn't cover the spread, right? So the naysayers could use that against us, right? If we had thrown another touchdown in there and the score was 35-3 and won by 33 points, I think, not only would that have met Williams' win by 30 points criteria, but, the optics of how that looks relative to everybody else, hey, that helps, right? So I don't know.
Well, I mean, for the most part, we've shown the whole country that we're 95% a one-dimensional offense, and everybody sees that. Everybody's going to prepare to play us knowing that. And here's another thing: 4 games in, look at the offense. Would you honestly feel comfortable right now or let's just say next week the playoffs started, and let's say that we did get in with what we know we have, I wouldn't feel good about playing Texas or Georgia or anybody.
No,
Not
yeah,
in a playoff
no,
situation at all.
you're 100% right. That does need to be the mentality of this football team and our fan base. Now we're not there yet, so we do have some time to develop but you're 100% right. Like Texas has scared the shit out of me since last season, and you look at what they're doing, it's not hard to pull up, ESPN or even watch one of their games. Go watch one of these other scary teams. And you have to ask yourself the hard question: can we hang with them? The answer is no.
No, defense wise, I would put our defense when they're clicking up with
That
anybody.
is true. But
you have to put points up.
Yeah, that's the thing. I love our defense. I hope they can stop everybody, and limit them to under 20 points. But then the question is, does the offense have the ability to rise to the occasion and score? I don't know. Maybe I'm being too optimistic saying that, and this is especially after the Purdue game, that Riley Leonard can score at will. I don't know.
Well, and
maybe he can. I don't know.
These teams coming up aren't going to, they're not going to be a pushover like Purdue was. You know what I mean?
No, Purdue's trash. Yeah.
And, kind of a catch-22. The defense, as legit as they are, if we're not able to put up points, how many 3 and outs before the defense gets gassed? And then all of a sudden they start slipping. You know what I mean? They can't do it all. The defense has been the backbone for years.
Yeah.
And, the problem is we just can't get an offense to go, hand in hand the way the defense is. But
yeah,
I don't know. I think I figured out how to solve the problems though. Here in a few weeks, I'm gonna hold a big sign up that says I drove 8.5 hours to watch Riley get benched. And I'm gonna I don't know, maybe light somebody's hair on fire, get on ESPN, let the nation know, hey, we want him to set. Hell, I don't know.
I mean, I want Notre Dame to win, whether it's with Angeli or Riley Leonard. I've kind of moved beyond that. I'm kind of taking more of the Lou Holtz vibe of this. Is look, I just need the guy out there that's going to be effective. If Riley Leonard is effective at putting up points and responsible for 75% of our points today, I'm okay with that. But at the same time, it's like I need to have confidence in you in today's college football to be able to extend drives, move the ball downfield, and whatnot. And the unfortunate piece is the O-line here, and I think we're putting a lot of focus on the quarterback because I think that's easy to do in this. And I'm not trying to belittle you. I'm just like it's easy to do because they make the stat sheet. He's in the forefront. He's everyone sees him. Your eyes kind of lock on him. Whereas the O line, they kind of get mushy in the middle there, and it's like, wait, who's in at guard now? We're like looking at numbers and going to the roster, and you're like, oh, that's it. And it's a lot more challenging. And I think the biggest issue for this team going forward is not exactly the quarterback. I think you could make that argument. I think it's really the O-line. And I think that it was a question mark even before all these injuries started. And now it's even that is just becoming a lingering thing. So I think it's serviceable. We're still winning. Obviously, we put up a ton of points last week. We won by 25 today. I don't know. So, well, Mike, really appreciate you. Unless you have something else earth-shattering to share with us, thank you for joining us tonight on the Fighting Irish Faithful show. I see Jeff, Coach Barsegian is there. He's listening, and Max there. We're going to go jump over to Jeff. We haven't had you on the show in a bit. Strubiak, you there? Come off mute, co-worker.
What's up, man?
Yo, welcome back to the show, Jeff.
Oh, it feels great to be back. I've been kind of in the background the last couple shows, in and out. because I have a dirty obsession with playing NCAA football
Oh,
on my PlayStation 5.
like where are you going with this? Okay.
Yeah, every night.
That means your
I
kids are grown up, right? You can send them to bed, and yeah.
Oh, they're I have to make sure they're sleeping. They're 6
That's
and the twins are 6 and the daughter's 4. So,
okay.
Long story short, I know there's a lot of anti-Riley talk, and it's deserved, in some aspects. But being at the game and watching the game, I saw a lot from Riley Leonard today, from a passing aspect that didn't show up on the stat sheet, and the 4 balls that he threw downfield, 5 balls he threw downfield, he got 3 PIs, a touchdown, and an underthrown ball to Jaden Harrison that was unfortunately missed. If he leads him, it's a touchdown.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it was missed. But on those 3 plays where PI was called, Chris Mitchell catches one for a touchdown.
Yeah.
If he's not interfered with, so I would tack on maybe 30 or 40 yards there. I would tack on another 25 to 30 on Mitchell's catch. And then the last one was Jordan Faison that got us in line for the touchdown in the third quarter to put us up 21-3, I think. And he threw that in his breadbasket where he was interfered with. So
yeah. I
saw a lot from Riley in the long ball aspect. That intermediate game of his is just it's very odd that he isn't comfortable throwing to. I mean, he threw one to Bo Collins today where it was a crossing route. We know that Bo's gonna bang with guys, but he's not afraid to go over the middle. Oh, that PI was Bo Collins. I'm sorry. The PI was Bo Collins that he would have caught the touchdown. He would have had 2 on the day.
I was going to say, I don't recall a Faison one, but I'm with you.
Faison, I think, might have been on a snap count. He was out there, but very limited. And I think he might have pissed off the coaches a little bit with that snafu on the punt
that was
resulted
terrible. It was so bad.
That resulted in our defense being on the field maybe 13 out of the 15 minutes in the first quarter. So I just want the listeners to kind of see that in retrospect, because all 3 of those PI calls, those were good balls thrown and catchable balls that weren't interfered with. None of them were behind. If you saw Mitchell a half second earlier, yes, Mitchell might have been in stride a little bit more because that safety reacted late to Mitchell off the seam. But I am a little bit more comfortable. I'm comfortable with Riley Leonard throwing the ball 30 yards because his ball looked a lot better. And then you go to those passes where it was like, I think Mike said it, where it's not like he's comfortable with the offense yet. And that's what it looks like. I mean, Cooper Flanagan ended up in a boot today, which that's of note. He ended up in a boot in the second half, and I don't know what it was on, but that pass he threw to Cooper, you could clearly see the frustration because Cooper ran off the field after that ball was so severely, it was either underthrown or overthrown, that he sat on the bench and just put his hands on his head. So there's visible frustration, like, what the hell is going on with you? And it's the confidence thing, but it's like, I saw this guy literally last year to this date completely almost tear us apart and beat us at Duke, and his confidence was through the roof.
Yeah.
And then it's like, what happened? And I know we have a lot invested in him, but you know what? Today showed me actually a silver lining that, listen, we got speed guys, quote unquote, and Chris Mitchell, and it seems like Bo's got a little bit of a spark behind him. We know Faison can move. It just looks like let's try to throw the. And I think the opposing teams are gonna see that because they were all interfered with, and those would have been either touchdowns or long gains. My problem with Riley Leonard right now is we see him in the pocket, and if it shows any signs of collapse, it's not that he's running. He just gets these choppy feet, and it's like, dude, relax. You have the gift of running. Sam Hartman last year against Louisville, when we needed him to run or when we needed him to get out of the pocket, he didn't leave, and Louisville had a field day. So I think, and that was with two of the best offensive tackles in the country. We don't have that this year, and it is kind of concerning to me going into these weeks with Louisville, and then Stanford seems to be a formidable opponent now. And
yeah, they're on the uptick. I will say Stanford. Yeah, no, I'm with you. Continue.
Yes, and I mean, it's just one of those things where I could beat the shit out of the Riley Leonard throwing balls and the frickin' skipping into guys on a flat route, overthrowing running backs where it's like, what the hell are you doing, kid? And I think it's just a bad. It gives every listener on this podcast that get him out of there kind of feel. Yeah. And today kind of gave me this guy gives us an opportunity to win, and if he just shows confidence, like he is still, Joe, yet to show me confidence in like an intermediate throw.
Yeah.
Like I don't get it, man. Set your feet and throw the rock, as Wookie would say. What does Wookie always say?
Oh, he says grip it and rip it. That's
grip it, yeah, grip it and rip it, kid.
The Wookiee wisdom, yeah, grip it and rip it. The it's interesting. You mentioned the Duke game last year of Notre Dame at Chapel Hill. Is Chapel Hill Duke, or is that
they're Raleigh Durham.
Raleigh Durham. I don't know. Mm-hmm. They're all like really close.
They're
to
like
each other.
Right next to each other.
NC State's in the neighborhood too. Anyway, the I'm looking at the statistics, like my usual page here on the spreadsheet.
I want to hear this. Yeah.
So here's the interesting thing. Completion percentage was not good. We were better. Okay, we won by 7 points last year at Duke. Obviously, we hurt Riley Leonard's leg. There's a couple things that really jump off the page here with them. Number one, Duke had more plays. They ran 4 plays more than Notre Dame. They also ran the ball significantly more than Notre Dame. They ran the ball 59% of the time versus Notre Dame's 50%. Okay, so that's interesting. So they therefore had more rushing yards. But here's the deal, and you mentioned Riley Leonard ripped us apart. Now, I may disagree with you a little bit. However, there is something that does jump off the page, and that is their third down conversion was significantly better than Notre Dame. Duke converted 40% of the time with Riley Leonard last year. Notre Dame 20%.
And that is interesting.
That is interesting. And so like third down percentage is not like the be all end all of stuff, but what it is it keeps drives moving, keeps them alive, etc. And what do you usually, I haven't done the statistics on this because I already know the answer. People tend to pass more on third down than they tend to run. Okay, that's just kind of a given, right? I mean, you're the one who's playing NCAA football. What are you doing on third down, right? So
I'm gripping and ripping it.
You're gripping it and ripping it. Are you taking shit by storm though? Because that's another Wookiee quote. But
I am. I'm really taking shit by storm.
Day one, take shit by storm. All right,
personally.
Anyway, So I'm that's very interesting that you brought up the game in which we injured him. Now what's funny is you go back to where we are as a program now, and it's like we ended up signing this guy and bringing him over onto our program after we injured him, and so it's kind of like it's a little bit of a head scratcher, right? Like, really?
I've had conversations with actual and you know my relationship with a certain player there, where it's like we had a conversation after the NIU game,
Yeah.
and there was just discussions on that certain topic where I had that certain conversation too, and then he came back and did what he did against Purdue, and then
Right.
he did what he did today, where I got another stat for you. I put it in the Dose chat that Riley Leonard is the first player since Carlisle Holiday to run for 100 and pass for 150. So I mean that's he accumulated 297 yards today. I mean that's a pretty good number you'd like to see out of your quarterback, where you'd like to see the 210 passing yards. I want to see it too. We all want to see it. And
he almost had 150 in both stats today.
Exactly. And I mean, if he accumulates for 300 yards a game, I'm gonna take that and fucking run with it.
Yeah.
Because that means he's being effective regardless what it is. And will he have those same numbers against Louisville, Georgia Tech? I think he could do that against USC because they still tackle like shit. I just watched some replays of that. And Michigan, I'll tell you what, man. Michigan is dog shit.
Yeah, they suck. They suck.
They are dog shit this year, Joe. And I think that USC, if we thought we got exposed, I think Michigan got exposed in their house, or USC got exposed on the road. Unfortunately, we play at the Coliseum this year, but I think USC's questioning like LSU wasn't that good, and are we that good? And we're in that same boat. I'm not saying that we're on our high horses because we're 3-1 and we beat a MAC school and a shitty Purdue team, but we went into Texas A&M and we were actually kind of optimistic about Riley at that point. Would you agree with that?
No, I'm with you. I'm a little more disappointed. I'm looking ahead at SC's schedule here because obviously they're in the Big Ten now. So I'm really disappointed that they're playing home games against Wisconsin, Penn State, and Nebraska. These are like, all three of them are all home games for the Trojans. Their away games are Minnesota, Maryland, and then Washington and UCLA. Places those last two
that they are used to.
They're used to that, right? And who knows where Washington and UCLA doesn't look very good because they got pistol whipped by IU, right? So go Hoosiers. I'm just saying, I'm annoyed that they have no difficult really away games that are like the stalwart, like traditional Big Ten teams, other than this Michigan game.
Yeah,
right?
Today was. It sounds like today's their
only one they had, right? So I mean, and they beat LSU and Brian Kelly, fine, whatever. That doesn't actually make me happy because I don't like USC. So I'm how this relates to Notre Dame. Obviously, we're going to play the Trojans in the Coliseum at the end of the year. I have no idea what to expect from this USC team because I think they lost to a not very good Michigan team who is not very effective. So
you're starting a walk on.
It's really, we think we have problems, go look over here, and that's, if I take a page out of the Mike Sloan book, I'm not comparing myself to SC or Michigan. I'm comparing them to the Texas this year, or Georgia this year, and that's fair. But
I agree.
But right now, the known quantity of the schedule is Louisville next week and USC far down the road. Everybody else should be a win, right?
Yeah.
So that's that. Yeah, the Riley Leonard thing, I think, will be a continued topic for the year. I've made a note here to look at Riley Leonard's contribution in yard points for the team, in addition to his ability to put up points and touchdowns. What is his true contribution? A third of the way through the regular season. And
Yeah, please let me know about that, because I'm interested, because
I think it's going to be really high. I don't think we'll do a huge. I will probably look at a couple other guys. I don't know if I have the ability to look up Carlisle Holiday from way back and when. That starts getting really with my sources. It starts. I have to go deep into the internet. And I don't know if,
Carlisle was the Davy days, so I mean that's
was it
90
Davey
years.
or was it
90. He was before Willingham, so I think he was Davy. I think he was Davy.
I thought Holiday was there during Willingham's first year too.
Possibly, because we benched him, I think, or made him into
I don't know,
hybrid wide receiver or
Zach
something
Frazier
like that.
jumping in. I know eventually Brady Quinn came in the last year of
I have Andrew Hendricks in my head, but I think that's later.
No, that's Kelly for sure. And he ends up going and hanging out with Denbrock, or not Denbrock, excuse me, over with Chuck Martin there over at Miami, Ohio. So
I have one little thing about that with we talked about the running game too of Miami, that Chuck Martin knows Notre Dame football, loves Notre Dame football. I listened to a podcast with Pete Sampson from the Athletic.
Listening to other people's podcasts? What the hell?
I do that because Pete's such a Brian Kelly homer, and I do it in spite of him.
Samsonite.
And I saw that he had an interview with Chuck Martin, and I was like, okay, I want to listen to this. And Chuck Martin went on record and said, he goes, I'm a Notre Dame fan 365 days out of the year except for this year. And he had even mentioned the 2012 team being less talented than what we have now. And that should pay dividends to what Marcus is doing. And I know people have him on the hot seat for not getting this team up, for the Northern Illinois of the world, Marshalls, even Stanford. And I'm fully on board with that, because there's no excuse that this team shouldn't have been 0-0 at the end of the first quarter. I mean, Christ. That is embarrassing.
Irritating.
That was embarrassing, but that pays. It's a testament to fumbling a punt and them kind of running at will. And going back to Chuck Martin, he was saying how he knows how the defense worked because he was good friends with Bob Diaco. And I don't think Notre Dame's traditionally changed their views on how their defense should be played. It's just a difference in who comes in at coordinator and what they run. I think there's still a standard to be held that we are a run the damn ball, and we have a very bend and not break defense. And I think Chuck Martin came into this game saying, Al Golden has studied this film up, down, side, all over the place, and we've been throwing the rock all over. And I think we got caught in some, because I noticed our linebackers today were dropping in zone a lot, and that's when they were running that little halfback draw or that little off tackle. And even even when Gabbert went for that 20-yard run, we weren't prepared for that. And it's like, you think teams are going to start to notice that. And that's when I think we got exposed by Louisville last year with their running attack, because they were using Jack Plummer as more of a passer, and then their running back went off on us last year.
He's not still there, is he?
The running back, I don't believe so.
No, Plummer, because
no, it's they have a transfer portal.
Cal before that, right? And
yeah, and almost beat us at Cal, and then he was at Purdue, and he he almost beat us that one year when we played Purdue. They didn't know. We won 27-13.
I was gonna say I don't know if it was that close, but
good thing about today is defensively, I thought we had the game, and I didn't think that we were getting beat on defense like we did against Northern Illinois. Where I was like,
the yards, the total yards suggest otherwise. I
exactly.
And if we look at third down percentage, like it got to the point, especially later in the game. I do think that Al Golden has made better adjustments on defense than the offense has made.
I agree.
At halftime or whatever. Like, because I would love to see like the third down or even the completion percentage from the first half to the second half. But as a team, as a whole, Miami, Ohio, their completion percentage was under 40%, and their third down conversion was 16%. So it's not good. Which is great. It's a great position for us to be as a football team. So,
yeah.
All right, Jeff, we're gonna see if we can get Coach Barsegian or Patty Mac or Mac on here. If not, we're gonna shut it down. So, Mac,
appreciate
Coach
you,
Barsegian.
man.
Jeff, I really appreciate you jumping back. Don't be a stranger. Are you coming to Stanford, or are you just gonna whatever?
Don't put that on me. I'm going on. It's my
I'm not
kid's
putting
fault,
nothing
right?
on you, man.
I'm going on fall. I'm gonna be on a cruise watching that game.
You're gonna be on a cruise?
Yeah, we're going on a cruise with my parents. So don't
where? Like to Alaska?
But no,
a Viking river cruise?
Yeah, a Norwegian one. No, we're going to the Bahamas. So yeah, so we're going, and it's going to be a test with the 3 under 6. So we'll see how it goes. I can't wait to come on the podcast and let you know how that goes. Hopefully, it's a good conversation after the Stanford.
Well, I'll be at said Stanford game. We will not be doing a show in the post game because I will be in a different area code. So,
is that the last one you're going to go to, Joe? Or are you going to try to sneak in?
Good question. So
there's Virginia shortly after that.
I will not be going to Virginia. So the Stanford Gathering, obviously we've organized a group of over 30 plus people. Mike Sloan, Coach Barsegian, myself, nice. Tons of other friends of the show will be jumping on. Jay, who was on earlier, right? Red Snappers flying out.
Oh boy!
I'm bringing my wife and children to the tailgate. They're not coming to the game, but they will be tailgating with us in the North Lot.
God bless.
So we have a huge group of people that I've coordinated bringing people up. Now, whether that's my last game in South Bend is another story, because I actually already have a hotel booked in South Bend for a potential playoff game, right? I got a huge deal. As soon as the NCAA announced the weekend of the home playoff games, I did some research, looked at some hotels, and I was just like, look, I can book a room now for a really great price, significantly less than what it would be for your traditional Notre Dame weekend. To which told me that the hotels hadn't picked that up yet. So I was like, okay, sweet, let's do it. And so I booked it. It's already secured, even though the possibility of Notre Dame having a game. So therefore, why do I bring this up? You asked the question, is this my last game, the Stanford game? I don't know yet.
I hope not.
I hope not either. That would be amazing to freeze my ass off in South 100%. Bend in December. In the 20th.
Well, who knows? It's the middle of September, and I am going to bed after I get off here because that sun kicked my ass today.
It is suspiciously warm out right now, I will say that. Yes. So, although we did get a crazy freak rain and hailstorm last night. So, all right, Jeff, have a good one.
Thanks, brother.
All right, Matt, come on, and then we'll shut it down unless Coach Barsegian jumps on.
Hey, how are you?
Yo, it's getting a little late here. What's your takeaways from the Miami, Ohio game?
I just finished watching it. I was doing my boy's birthday party today. So, but anyway, I thought the last two games, I thought the offensive play calling has been a lot better. It's just you could see they were moving the pocket. They're trying to give Riley Leonard easy throws. He just misses them. But like then like a last speaker said, then he redeemed himself on the deep throws. But I also liked the play calls on airing it out and getting those defensive pass
There were a
interferences.
lot of penalties from Miami, Ohio.
But I thought they called a good game because he was getting those pass interferences. He was seeing that they were getting beat. So that was really nice to see. One thing that really concerns me, and this was a mark after the 2012 championship game, is Brian Kelly teams always won the line of scrimmage. This team, and I understand that they have injuries on the offensive side, but the defensive side, I don't know what happened to Miami of Ohio. Why did they stop running the ball? Why did they always they were trying what's his name? Played just like his brother Blaine. I mean, it was just bad. Yeah, they were averaging. What were they averaging? Because I know you have it 5 yards a carry. It looked like.
I mean, I don't even have to calculate that because ESPN's gonna tell me that one. But no, the hold on, I'm not on the right page here. That's my 50s. It's calculating thing. No, the Miami, Ohio, they averaged under 4 yards a carry, where we averaged 7.5 yards a carry.
Then how? Okay, it just really felt like they were running. They were really efficient running the ball. I don't like it. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. Like, did it not?
I mean, I would approach it from a way more macro era, which is they only had 110 yards rushing period in this game, and 0 touchdowns. So
do you think? Okay, I mean, I thought they had a great first quarter. I just don't. Here's the thing.
Did they? I mean, they didn't put up any points either.
No, but they had a good. I think they beat Notre Dame in the first quarter. Is what I'm trying to say. Point is, Notre Dame was the more talented team. That's why they won.
That is 100% true.
That's the only reason why they won. I thought
9.3 ranked talent over the 4 years of Notre Dame versus 87.5 for Miami, Ohio.
You cannot. It's just you can't convince me that this team is gonna. I don't think they're making the playoffs.
Who?
I really don't.
Notre Dame?
I don't. Yeah.
So if they run the table, you don't think they're going to make the playoffs?
Well, I don't think they'll run the table.
Okay. So that's the question. It's not so much the playoffs. It's you don't think they're going to.
Right. I just watched this game. They come out lackadaisical again. They're just like, I don't know why, but they just don't seem focused in the first quarter or disinterested or whatever.
Is this a problem with Notre Dame? Because I'll be honest, no one has said this tonight, and this is what I thought going into the game and even during the game. I'm like, is this a problem with Notre Dame, like a home field problem?
I don't know. I mean,
because that's what look, we got a sample size of 2, and we're batting 100 here. We haven't looked good in our own stadium.
No,
period.
They don't get out.
We
don't get out quick.
We looked great down in College Station. I mean, maybe not great. Maybe that's a bad word to use. But we won, and no one, the entire world thought we weren't going to. And then we looked killer at Purdue. Granted, it's Purdue, and they suck. But I mean, it doesn't change the performance out of the gate in those 2 games. At least on appearance, right? I think that's where you're going.
And that's what my worry is they come out of the gate sluggish. They do that against Louisville. It's game's over. You know what I mean? And they could even
and I haven't looked at Louisville other than the frustrations from last year of that game.
But they're better than Miami of Ohio. Is what I'm trying to say.
Clearly.
Right. They could honestly, Notre Dame could have been down 2 scores at the end of the first quarter.
Yeah, especially after the
At least,
turnover.
yeah. That's what I was trying to say. The whole communicate. Shoot, like if you do that against Stanford, like I could see this team having a letdown against Stanford. To
Don't
be
say
honest,
that. I'm going to go to that game.
I know you are, but but Stanford, what I would say, is a better team than Miami of Ohio, and I could see Stanford hanging around. I felt like Notre Dame just kind of played like they just. I don't know. They let those teams. They let Northern Illinois and Miami of Ohio hang around because they don't get off to a good start. They don't put them away. Like, there's no. They give the initial momentum, and I don't know, at home at least, and I don't know if that's preparation, if that's not getting them ready to play. I don't know what it is, but there's just no giddy up at the beginning of the game. They until they get into a rhythm. I don't know. Am I the only one seeing that?
No, I don't think so at all. I think you're
Okay.
on point there. I think you're on point.
And other than that, I don't think you could complain too much. I mean, the secondary looked good.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, it's Miami of Ohio.
Yeah. You're saying
I
that
don't know what
the talent is what's keeping Notre Dame going, not so much like the play calling or some of this execution stuff, And maybe that's all Notre Dame has to do. I mean, like,
I think
how many teams let me put it another way, because we could talk about Sagarin or some of these other things. How many teams that are on the schedule left have more talent than Notre Dame? I don't think anybody.
Well, I think a little bit more talent than what Miami of Ohio has. Maybe Notre Dame loses or wins or barely pulls one out.
Stanford won't.
Close one. No, they're still rebuilding.
They are.
I'm biased because I do like Troy Taylor.
That's fine.
I like what he did at Sacramento State, and I like what.
How about this? We'll give you a featurette here when we do the Stanford game. I don't know, like we're 2 hours in tonight. A lot of good discussions here, but no, I'm not kicking you off, Mac. But any other final thoughts we need to get to before we let Coach Parsegian wrap us up?
I just want to say good night. God bless to everybody. But I just think that I have a horrible feeling about this team, and I think that I think they're gonna finish somewhere in just above the top, like right around 16th. That's my prediction.
All right,
right around 16th.
We're still early in the season. It's so a lot can happen between now and Thanksgiving.
And one last thing, I don't want my kudos to the offensive play calling go away. I thought the last 2 weeks they did a great job. I think they've been trying to go around Riley Leonard's deficiencies. There has been, and the offensive line's deficiencies. There was movement rolling out of the pocket. There was a lot of stuff that you didn't see when they played Northern Illinois. I do think that there was a little bit better play calling on the offensive side. That's it.
No.
Take it easy.
All right, have a good one, Mac. Have a good night. Thank you for joining us tonight on the Fighting Irish Faithful Show at Mac_8806 on the X. Coach Parsegian, shut us down tonight. What do we need to know?
We have hammered this Riley Leonard thing to death over the last 3 or 4 weeks.
Forever.
Yeah. But I'm starting to think that it is more of a George Steinbrenner type situation with him at Notre Dame, where it is the powers that be over Freeman have said
the Notre Dame Illuminati.
It's more of a look. We have signed this guy this much money. You're playing him, and that's it. It may sound conspiratorial, but that's just what I think it is. And Freeman's just like, okay, he's not putting his foot down on it.
Bingo.
So that's exactly what I think a lot of this is with Riley Leonard, because the stadium, the fans, the students, they see how bad he sucks.
But does he suck?
He can't throw the ball.
I know, but he accounted for 75% of all of our points today.
He's like a blundering idiot running. They can't stop. It's like an offensive lineman almost running with the ball.
Oh, he's definitely better than an O lineman running with the ball.
But he's difficult to tackle. Let me put it that way, because if you call it a juke, I don't even know if you can, but it's his version of a juke. It's not something that the defenders are accustomed to seeing when someone's running with the ball.
I mean, I'm going to disagree with you when you say that he can't run the ball. I actually think that's...
I'm not saying he can't run the ball.
You just compared him to an offensive lineman.
When it comes to trying to tackle him and stop him, it's hard to tackle an offensive lineman running with the ball.
That's different. That's like tackling Quentin Nelson is a different skill set than trying to tackle a slippery, elusive, juking and jiving 6'4", guy. Okay, I don't want to compare him to Reggie Bush because that was the first thing that came to mind. But the point
that's it. Okay, if it's, for lack of better term, he's not a running back running the ball.
No, he's not.
He's difficult to prepare for when he's running with the ball because he doesn't move like a typical running back.
Well,
he's not doing fancy jukes. And I don't even know how to explain his quote juke end quote. It's like a completely different movement.
I think he just makes a cut, and it's the timing of when he makes the cut relative to where the defender is moving. Because the way a juke works is you fake one way, but you go another way. But it's kind of like anyone who's done martial arts knows that a lot of what you do is a function of what your opponent is doing. Okay, so like judo is a perfect example. Judo, you use the momentum and your opponent being off balance because they've shifted their weight a certain way, and you read that and then you use it against them. Okay, I'm not saying that he's the judo sensei master here, Riley Leonard. What I'm saying is that I think his timing of when he makes his cuts is in the disadvantage of the defense. Now, I'm not here to also fan palm leaves at him. I'm just looking at stats on a spreadsheet here that says this guy is actually accounting for a lot of Notre Dame's points, and we're going to talk about that, next week. People have given me some good notes. All I'm saying, Coach, is, and I'm not trying to defend him. I know that kind of sounds like what I'm doing. I'm just saying, like, I've kind of given up on saying that the coaches need to bench him as long as what they're doing is winning the football game. And I think that maybe there's you if you're coming on here and saying that, well, we could still win the football game with Angeli and running and having different play calling, that's a different conversation from, well, we just don't like him or we think he sucks.
No, but I think Notre Dame could win football games with Angeli in different play calling.
Well, I do too. The question I don't know, and the nagging question I have, Notre Dame Illuminati aside, is the margin of victory and the if we look at this from a statistical probability standpoint, which there's no way to do this unless you run both scenarios. So this is all hypothetical. But is the statistical likelihood of winning a game with Angeli, where it seems very more limited that he's clearly the passing guy in the pocket, versus Riley Leonard may be able to connect on some of these passes, but do we even have the ability to do that? And I'm not so sure about that. I don't know. I genuinely don't know, because the only time where Angeli was able to shine was against the worst opponent we've played thus far, which is Purdue. They're terrible.
Well, if next week we have another Sam Hartman situation against Louisville,
I hope
and
not.
Leonard throws 2 or 3 interceptions and shits the bed again, it's going to be like, we've been down this road before. We went down it a year ago, and now here we are for the second game, for the second year in a row that we've gone to that portal to find the guy that can take Notre Dame to the promised land, and we've shot ourselves in the foot again. I hope it doesn't happen, but Notre Dame's not always fared well against Louisville as of late. So
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I remember last year it was not a pleasant experience at all.
And Louisville fans were talking trash the whole week, saying, we know Sam Hartman, we know how good he isn't against us, and they proved they were right. Now, I've not seen any trash talk at all from Louisville this year, but
Yeah, I mean
it was brought up earlier, the monster back situation. It takes one team that is capable of doing it to do it to Riley Leonard, and
I agree.
I'm just saying.
I brought that
They're
up.
setting themselves up for disaster, relying on this guy to strictly run the ball for the most part, and all it takes is one decent team to shut him down.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. The more secure,
they're being too one-dimensional is my point.
I'm with you. The more secure, safer position to be is a well-rounded team with multiple weapons from quarterback to running back to multiple receivers. Okay, I think that's where you're going. I guess the point I'm making is we don't have that. Now, maybe it's a function that we don't have that because, well, we're not giving Angeli a try. If that's what you're saying, like if you were saying, well, we don't know if we have that because we don't give the better passing quarterback the opportunity to find these other guys because he's a better passer, period, and let Bo Collins or let Faison or Greathouse pick your favorite receiver on this team, let them shine. That's a different conversation. And I don't know whether or not that would result in a more favorable yards per point for Notre Dame, on the season, right? That's if I was to break down this entire podcast into one statistic, it's that. Okay, it's yard per point. Right now we're doing okay. I mean, in this game, where were we? We were 15.3. It's not great. Purdue was great. It was 8.8, but Purdue sucks. As a team, going into this game, it was 11.9, right? Which was on par with national champions of 11.8. So, I don't know. It's going to go up with this year, or excuse me, with this next game. I guess, and I haven't looked at Louisville at all on any of their statistics, right? And who they've played and this, that, or the other, right? We take it one game at a time, 1 week at a time here on the show. Sometimes we pay attention to what USC is doing just because we hate them. But look, Louisville is a test. If they do a monster back thing and they literally and figuratively put Riley Leonard in a box and they don't let him out, I do think we're in trouble. Because of what you've said about his inability to throw the ball at will. Because I'll be honest, and I'm with you here. If he was able to sit in the pocket, throw the ball at will, we'd be having completely different conversations. We don't have that. So now we have to say, well, what do we have? And ask ourselves, is that okay? And unfortunately, I'm with you, Coach, where you're like, well, the nagging question is, it's not whether we're okay with the team being a one-man offense. I'm going to say it. The question is that a sustainable model for a successful football team? And most of the time, it's not. Doesn't mean it can't be, but let me put it another way, Coach. And this is maybe a hard question, or maybe this is an unfair question to ask you. What's it gonna take? And I don't say this to pump up Riley Leonard. I'm genuinely asking this question. What is it going to take for you, or even some of our fan base? You can speak on behalf of the fan base, to get behind Riley Leonard despite his flaws.
If he can throw for over 200 yards that aren't simple, safe dumps over the middle or to the outside, with 3 or 4 touchdown passes, and not have any rushing touchdowns unless it's inside the red zone.
Okay.
Then it's like, okay, he's proven that he can turn the corner and actually do what he was brought to Notre Dame to do.
I mean, any quarterback can pass for 3 to 4 passing touchdowns. Sign me up.
Yeah, but I mean, Brady Quinn did that on the reg, almost week to week.
I'm with you.
So Sam Hartman could do that easy.
Yes.
So prove that you are the quarterback that you were at Duke. Okay. Do what you were brought here to do.
I'll be honest with you. And you know this because you were on that show. The Duke performance by Riley Leonard was nothing stellar, quite frankly. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't anything whiz bang. That made me be like, oh, we got to get this guy from a passing statistic standpoint, right? And I'll still stand behind that. So I think
that's pretty much it.
I mean, I think your criticisms are noteworthy. I think you're coming from a place of, well, I don't know if this is sustainable, and I think that's where you're coming from.
Yeah, it's. I've said it. It was either last week or the week before. Like, we can only do this for so long till somebody shoves it right in our face and shuts him down, and then we score 3 or 10 points and get beat by 30.
Yeah. I mean, like, what I haven't done yet, and we'll probably wait till later in the season to do this, is where Riley Leonard is holistically relative to, I think his 2022 season was his quote unquote really good season, because last year, we injured him, and the wheels kind of fell off the cart there. I don't know. I can't ignore the fact that we may not have to be successful with him throwing the football. Like that is the postulate, question, hypothesis I have posed to our fan base, and where I left last week's show. And that's the position I'm, with respect to Riley Leonard, where I'm going to leave us tonight as well, is, okay, he's not Sam Hartman. He's not Lamar Jackson. He's not, Brady Quinn, A.J. McCarron of 2012, whatever. But he could be A.J. McCarron of, 2011. He could be a better version of Kyle McCarthy from last year, i.e. Michigan. Now, none of this works if the defense sucks. And the defense does not suck. The defense is playing really well. And I think the Louisville game, I'm going to come out and say it, the Louisville game is going to depend on how the defense plays. I don't think it's about the offense. I think it's more about the defense. Because these other teams that had not stellar quarterback play, but still hoisted a big trophy, had good defenses, and their defense was exceptional. We limited Miami, Ohio to 3 points, Purdue to 7, right? And even the game we lost, 16 points. These are good places to be. So I'm gonna steer the conversation a little bit more over to the areas of the team that I know are doing well, and we'll go from there. I'm not gonna hitch the entire fate of Notre Dame's 2024 team to Riley Leonard. Clearly, the quarterback is an influential member of the offense, but he does not necessarily dictate the outcome of the entire team. So that's a position I'm going to take. Coach, you can disagree with me if you want. I don't know, but I would like to keep this in a little bit of perspective because I have seen other teams be successful without the quarterback being whiz-bang Joe Burrow, right? That doesn't mean I don't want him to perform at an excellent level like Joe Burrow. I would love that. But let's face it, that's not going to happen this year. Unless something crazy happens all of a sudden, which I guess could be possible, but unlikely. So that's where we're at. So, all right. I think everyone's dropped off except Coach. And who is this? Long Duke Dong. Okay. I hit everything Michigan. Oh, okay. Well, if you want to jump on, sorry, Michigan won. But no, we're good here. Thank you for everyone for joining the Fighting Irish Faithful show. Really appreciate everybody. We did win, despite some of the criticisms thrown at our quarterback. So. With that, we'll go out with a victory. Thank you, everyone, very, very much. Go Irish, and we'll see you next time. See you on Tuesday.